Number one issue I had. He's not very productive. He's just not. All right. That boy's been working his ass off, man. Oh, hey, I got to tell you, really awesome here, man. Zander's sister, and I think this is the one that was at the parade, right? Was this the one at the parade, Brittany? No, it's not. All right. Well, geez, we got media people everywhere. Without further ado, the media mogul, our friend Big Z, Zander Krause, joins us now. How you doing?
What's up, Big Sills? How you doing, brother?
Holy cow, man. You got like media. You got media all over the family, man. You got them everywhere now. So Brittany went to school with Dan Morgan, huh?
Yeah, man. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. All my pops' kids are, in one way or another, are media savvy. So now my sister, for those who don't know, my oldest sister, Brittany, that's the sister. I was just at her place in Florida for her son's baptism, my godson. She went to the University of Florida. Gator bait, Sileo. She'll give you the gator bait. But she went to school with Dan when Dan was there. They knew each other well. So she mentioned to me, hey, you got Morgan on the show. So she said, say hi to Dan for me. So pretty cool. But yeah, she back when she was at the University of Florida, she worked sideline for the team. That's how she knew Tim Tebow. She knew all those guys because she was at school when Tim Tebow was there. She was excellent. Now, she took it a little bit of a different career path, but she would have been tremendous.
She worked around with Urban Meyer then, huh?
Yeah, right. All that time. Yep. So pretty crazy. She probably has some good stories, but yeah, she's tremendous, and she's working now with Lockheed Martin. So she's crushing it. But yeah, she knows Dan. So you got to reach out to Dan and tell him.
That's really dope, man. All right, Zander. So let me propose something here to you.
All right, let's hear it.
I'm going to give you the 32nd pick, the 64th pick, the 96th pick, the 134th pick.
That's a lot of picks.
To move up to the Giants or the Browns to either draft Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter.
I don't want Travis Hunter. Give me Abdul. I'm doing it. That's a lot of picks, though, brother.
What do you think of the draft? What do you think of the draft?
I think the draft is in no man's land after the first five. I think Cam Ward's an obvious top five. You could argue maybe he's not that good of a player, but obviously the draft board's going to put him up there. I think Abdul's probably the best player in the draft, in my opinion. I think Travis Hunter's going to be a lights-out cornerback. I don't see it at wide receiver. I just don't. I mean, I was watching his pro day. I mean, routes aren't smooth. I just think he's one of those guys that, you know how some people, and actually you were probably this, you're so dominant at college. It's almost easy. It's not easy, but you're that much better than everybody. I think that's why he was so damn good at receiver in college. I think he's going to be a true cornerback one. I'm not saying he's not going to be a cornerback one. I think he's going to be an excellent cornerback, but he's obviously a top five guy. And then you're kind of in, Mason Graham's up there. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple guys I think that are up there, but they're not as clear-cut top guys as the other guys. And that's where I think the draft gets really interesting. Now, full disclosure, I don't think the Eagles are going to do what you said at all. Yeah, I mean, I think they need some of those picks. But if you're telling me we could get Abdul Carter, I do think that checks arguably the biggest box on the team moving forward in an edge rusher, right? A dominant edge rusher in that. So I would do it, but I don't think it's really plausible.
But here's to your point, what you said. In college, my first move, I could dominate and I killed guys.
Yeah, I heard you saying
first
that earlier.
move.
Yeah.
The problem is, this is what Travis is going to line up on. He gets drafted by the Giants, and he's got to go against A.J. Brown twice. Hoss, you better bring your miner's cap and a lunch pail, because you're going to work against that guy. That guy's going to show you what you don't know about the NFL. Hey, is Zander playing against wide receivers and DBs in the Big 12 versus the big boys? That's a whole different world when you're lining up on A.J. Brown, who his first 5 years in the league, his number one job was knocking guys out in the secondary for Derrick Henry. I mean, that was his job, knocking guys out.
Right.
bro, the problem that you see with a lot of these kids, especially interior, the defensive tackles, they're limited on second moves because of what you said. They're so dominant that their techniques are not refined yet. You get a guy who's got great techniques like this guy, Malachi. Dude.
Yeah, I hear you. You're high on him, huh? You like him a lot.
Boy, I'll tell you, I watch him and I see Ed Reed intangibles. Setting quarterbacks.
He's a good player, man. He is a good player. There's no doubt about it. Now, the reason I've kind of ruled him out is just because I don't think the Eagles are going to go there. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I just don't think the Eagles are going to go there. They've never, historically valued that position. I mean, even look right now, they just let Gardner Johnson walk for $10 million, and they have an undrafted free agent on an undrafted restricted deal right now in Reed Blankenship. Now, maybe they're going to pay him. I'm just saying that's kind of been their approach to safety. That doesn't mean they haven't changed their approach on positions in the past. I do like Malachi, but back to your point of this is where players struggle. That's my fear with a guy like James Pierce. Like if you put on the James Pierce tape, he dominates players. He moves right around him, but he doesn't have great technique. He doesn't have the form that you would need that when you do get shut down, as you alluded to. What's that second move look like? What are you going to do to get creative to continue to win in the NFL? That's my concern with him. I think he's just better than everybody right now, and without technique, he's dominated. So I still think he's going to be a really good player. James Pierce he'd probably be my dream pick if you stick around where you are right now.
That's right.
That's probably my dream pick if you stick around where you are. Now, I like Walter Nolan a little bit more than you. If you remember, Walter Nolan was at Texas A&M before Ole Miss. I didn't love the way they used him at Texas A&M. I thought he flourished a little bit better at Ole Miss. I could see him being a good player next to Jalen Carter. You talked about that second move. I agree, but if you take him first, you're not even asking him to be the best defensive tackle on your team. Right, you go to another team in the league, you're probably looking at, hey, man, Walter, I need you to dominate the interior. You have Jalen Carter. You have him. So that's going to make Walter's life a lot easier here, where I think he could have some time to develop and build on that first move, like you said. But he would be another guy that I'd be really happy with late in the first round.
Here's you've got to define what you're drafting him for then. Are you drafting him to replace Jordan Davis, or are you drafting him to win a spot? Because I think the further away from the center he is, I think he's limited. I don't think he could play a 3 technique. I think he's more of a guy that's going to be closer on the ball in a 2, where Jordan, or where you can line him up, head up over the center. Like, do I think that guy could beat Moro Jomo out? I don't know. Is he better? Walter Nolan, do you really want him to be your replacement at DT so that you don't have to give a contract extension, but pick up the 5th-year option on him where you get Jordan for you got to determine, what do you see him 3 years or 2 years down the line now? Is he the replacement? Now, look, he doesn't have a superstar first step, but what he does have is that he's quick. He's powerful. He's somewhat productive in there. He's way more productive than anything that Lazy Smith was at Michigan. And I just, again, where you're going to struggle in replacing Milton Williams, and I'll say it again, 7.53. You could go all the way from a 7 technique with Milton down to the nose. That's worth $1 billion to me, dude.
So here's my big question with this. What do the Eagles want? And I should really clarify that and say, what does Vic Fangio want? Because here's my gripe, all right? And me and John have been talking about this extensively with Jordan Davis, and you and I have talked about it a lot as well. It's a catch-22. If you want Jordan Davis to play more, that probably means you have to get worse on first down because they have him as the run stopper. That means ultimately he's playing a lot of 5-man front. But that's not my question with this. My question is, and you heard Bruce Arians talk about it in an interview the other day, would Vic rather have a 4-man front that he can use on first down that's effective against the run, then have a guy like Jordan Davis and you rotate on 2nd and 3rd down on the passing down? I think Vic would prefer to have a 4-man front, but they have to be competent in stopping the run. They were not last year in the 4-man front, which is why Jordan Davis became so important in this defense. Now, the one thing that will not change is you have to be able to stop the run. So if you want to do it in a 4-man front, you got to have two great tackles, not one. You got to have two great tackles. Walter Nolan, could he improve you in that? And then once you see that, I think it makes it a lot easier to move off of Jordan Davis. But you're not moving off of Jordan Davis if you get a pass rush specialist at defensive tackle. If you get a Javon Hargrave or a younger version of Javon Hargrave, you're going to be in the same boat, right? So that's my biggest question on the defensive tackles is, what does Vic want? Does he want to stop the run with 4-man front? Then you got to find a versatile DT to fit that role. And then you can say, okay, goodbye, Jordan Davis. We'll move on from you. We got a more versatile player. Now, I don't know if they're going to go down that road. I think the question does come from, what does Vic want? Maybe Vic is like, no, I want the 5-man front early. I'd rather rotate the defensive tackles on 2nd and 3rd down and get the 5-man front in there and stop the run like we did last year. But I did think it was interesting what Arian said about, hey, you can say our secondary, our defense looks great all the time, but if our front four is not doing what they need to do, this defense is a pile of shit. It's not going to work. It just doesn't work without a front four. So I thought that was pretty interesting, but it would all come down to me to what Vic wants to do or what his ideal scenario is on that defensive front.
There's two areas there. The more you get put in a position where you don't have to substitute for 3rd down and you can keep your same personnel in, that gives you more latitude on being able to play your guys every down. I'm looking for every down guys. Why? Because of the substitute packages that offenses force you into. The one thing that I don't want to get is caught out there with Jordan Davis in 3rd and 8, and I didn't get it out there in time because they're going up-tempo offense, and that's how you keep the defense on their heels, is because you go up-tempo and you got to stick out there with Jordan Davis because you can't substitute in. I want to be able to have same personnel out there.
Right.
Wasn't that one of the key factors in the Super Bowl? Was that you won a success rate with 4 dudes.
Yep.
There was very little substituting in that football game, especially even in the NFC title game. You were limited in the substitutes, but those guys were getting home.
Yeah.
I don't want to have specialists. This is why Bryce Huff couldn't get on the field.
Yeah, it's also a taste of our own medicine, Sills. It's what the Eagles' offense did so much last year. Up-tempo, no rotation, right. Prey on the defense. That's what we did. So,
how do you think you beat the Rams? You know how you beat the Rams? You keep the Rams and personnel on the sidelines, not letting them get into 3rd down guys and getting in the nickel package, and you keep running the ball at them.
You neutralize their pass rush. That's exactly what the Eagles did.
That's right. That's how they took out. Now, the Rams in the second time in the playoffs, they were smarter than that, and that's why that game was a little bit closer, because they were able to get nickel packages in. And they did it on 2nd down, if you remember right, on that kid Chris Shula. They were able to get what they needed on. But again, I don't want to have substitute guys. I want to have guys who can play 3 downs. That's the key to this whole thing, is 3rd down guys. Now here, to go with what you said here, do I think Walter Nolan can beat out Jordan Davis? Because you made a comment, and I made it yesterday. I'm not sacrificing the run defense for 2 sacks. That's not happening. I have no interest in that. I mean, to move off of Jordan Davis because the guy gives me 2 more sacks and I'm lesser in the run defense, that's not working for me. I'm not going to substitute that. Now, if you're giving me a guy like Sills, would you rather have Javon Hargrave or would you rather have Jordan Davis? I'd rather have Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is going to help me on 1st and 2nd down, keep me in 3rd and short. That's the key to that whole thing. I mean, Javon Hargrave's not a better ball player. He's just a better pass rusher.
Right.
But that doesn't mean he's a better and more complete player. Like, Walter Nolan and me can't beat Jordan Davis out. Shamar Stewart, is he a better no. Jordan Davis is a better athlete than this guy, and he's as productive. Why would I want to move off that? Now, unless you want to move him, and you're saying that Stewart is the replacement for him because they're comparable when it comes to production in college, and you see the same guy, but he's cheaper on a rookie deal, that's like you said.
Right.
That's what Howie would want, and that's what Vic would want. The kid Kenneth Grant, 6'3", 330, 340. Can that guy beat out Jordan Davis? Probably. Now
So
again,
you're gonna need a versatile defensive tackle if you want to move off of Jordan Davis, because
that's
or else
right.
you're gonna be in no man's land with the run, and then you're gonna have to commit one way or the other. You need a versatile guy. And now here's where the Eagles are in a position of power. Jordan Davis is under contract next year. Now, the 5th-year option is a whole nother deal, but let's say you draft.
I'm okay with that 5th year at 12 and a half.
But hear me out. Let's say you draft a defensive tackle this year. You have a chance to see what you have in the player while keeping Jordan Davis. So if the player isn't as good against the run, you still have that option, and then you can see what you have. If you look at the young player and you're like, okay, he's not ready yet for every down, but this guy clearly is what we want in terms of stopping the run and being able to get after the passer, then it makes your decision on Jordan Davis a whole lot easier, and your contract extension a whole lot easier as well, while also still having 2 years of him if you need him. But Jordan Davis is going to have to, I don't want to say he's got to be more, because I don't think they want him to be more. Like I said to you earlier in the summer.
That's why they moved him in on the nose. They moved him in on the nose.
Right.
They made him do less.
I said to you earlier in the summer, I'm like, I want to see him be more 3 technique. And John's like, why the hell do you want to see him be a 3 technique? He's not going to be good. So maybe my assumption of I want Jordan to be more versatile is the wrong one. And the solution would be get a guy that's more versatile, and then it makes Jordan Davis more expendable. Because right now, even with Jordan Davis's limitations, he's technically not expendable, because our defense wouldn't work if they couldn't stop the run.
You think Zach Bond's the same player if Davis is not in there? I don't.
Tough to say, because Zach Bond was excellent on every down.
Because of the 2 guys in front of him.
Because of Carter and Davis. I agree with that. Yeah. But if you take Davis off, I think Bond can still be competent. I mean, he was pretty damn good in passing down Sills when Jordan Davis was nowhere to be found.
Running the ball at you.
Well, you're going to have some guys in front of you, but you're still going to have Jalen Carter.
Dude, linebacker play is predicated on the guys in front of you. I know
that. I'm just saying.
Fred Warner and have guys that, if you had 2 Javon Hargraves and you had Nakobe Dean and you had Zach Bond and you had 2 Javon Hargraves this past season, those guys are getting murdered.
Yeah.
Because here, they're getting blown off the ball. Remember something here. When you're playing D tackle, these 2 guys did one thing that was essential in success. You know what that was? Those guys' abilities to be able to control the line of scrimmage and not lose the line of scrimmage was allowing those linebackers to scrape down the line of scrimmage, back and forth, being able to play in space. When you're getting knocked back off the ball like this, Zander, the line of scrimmage gets moved a line and a half more. That means your scrape routes, you have to bow your scrape routes. That creates a bigger zone. That means the safeties have to play higher up. Dude, the key to the Vic Fangio defense was the linebacker play in space and those 2 guys in the middle. That's why I say with Jordan Davis, I know, listen, I sound like I contradict myself every week with this guy because it's a tough call.
Well, it is. I agree with you. I'm contradicting myself on him every week too. And I think most people are. You look at him, you see obviously the talent, the size, the versatility, but he is what he is. And, that's why I think my initial comment is true in terms of what does Vic want? Would Vic prefer to get home with or be able to stop the run with 4? Maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he's like, no, I want 5-man front on first down because, like you just said, that allows Zach Bond to be great. That allows our pass rushers to be fresh on 2nd and 3rd down. Maybe he prefers that. But that's what it comes down to, because if it's not that and he'd rather stop the run with 4 and, as you said, be more versatile or more capable if you're versing an up-tempo offense. Remember, Jaden Daniels is in the division now. He's probably going to run a lot of up-tempo offense as he grows in his pro career. So, it all depends on what Vic wants, I think. If he wants to stop that in front with the 4-man front, I think they're going to draft a defensive tackle first. If not, I think Jordan Davis is going to get the contract extension.
Well, let me ask you this then. And is there a guy in the draft that you're high on?
There's plenty. I mean, there's plenty. There's nobody I'm head over heels on. I mean, even Abdul Carter. I love him. I think he's got tremendous skills. He's small, undersized. I mean, that's the truth. Put that guy up against Lane Johnson. What's he going to do? I want a guy that's going to – I want a guy, that if you're talking about number 2 overall, number 3 overall, blue chip edge rusher, I don't really picture Abdul Carter. And that's not a knock on the player. It's just not exactly what I picture as a blue chip edge rusher, and a little bit of an undersized guy. But I love him. I like Travis Hunter as a corner. I'm sorry, I'm not buying this dual position gimmick thing. I go to cornerback, bro. You could be the best cornerback in the league. I truly believe that. But just got to stick to it. So I like him. I do like Nolan. I kind of understand where you're coming from with Nolan, but I thought when he jumped to Ole Miss, you saw a lot better of a player. Texas A&M. You brought it up earlier. Who are the defensive tackles that are coming out of Texas A&M right now? Aren't there a couple?
No,
It's
dude,
Jimbo.
They got the inside guy and the outside guy, the scouting kid.
Yeah.
Next scouting kid, the Stewart kid. They got this other guy.
You see the same problem.
Fisher did a great job of recruiting. They just didn't coach him up.
They're not using him right. It's exactly why Walter Nolan left that place. So, I mean, look, there is some good guys out there. I like that Emin Warrior a little bit. I will say he is not as good as people are chalking him up to be. Like they're posting all the tape of him looking amazing. There's a lot of plays where Nick Emenwari head was spinning, and I'm not saying that that's he's not going to be a good player because of that, but it's not all perfect, with that. So I like him. I like Starks. I thought Starks was a good one. Nolan is good, but down at 32 Sills, you're really in la land a little bit there where you can go up, you can go down, a lot of similar players in there. So, now, Keith brings up a good point just because he won't beat Lane Johnson. Keith, I'm more saying Abdul's a little smaller than I'd like for a blue chip edge, but I do think he's an amazing player. He's my top rated guy in the whole draft. So I don't want to act like I'm shitting on him, but I would like a little bit more size out of him. That would be my one knock on him.
But what I'll say is this. If he can't beat Lane, that means he's going against Lane in practice every week.
Which will help him.
He can't beat Lane every week, but he's going to line up against lesser players. He might be a star over that because of the competition that you have in pass rush drills. Because when you have the preeminent guy in your huddle and you're going against that guy, I think that's one of the reasons why that Cooper DeJean and that Quinyon Mitchell had great success a year ago because of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown.
Right.
You're practicing against those guys every week, every day. Come on, man. You get better. That's how you get better. Is that way. All right. What do you make of the Eagles now? What do you make of the Eagles not bringing in a tight end to take a look at?
I'm wondering if this is major gamesmanship and they're really any tight end that comes in. I'm wondering if they're saying we do not want this out because, remember, they're also
aren't they telegraphing it though? Aren't they telegraphing it that way also? That if you're an opposing team guessing on what you're doing, you got Goddard on the market.
Right.
Multiple teams have called.
You're going to lose leverage if you tip your hand. That's my thing. Like there's nine visits left at Sills that we don't know. We know 21 out of 30 so far. We have 0 tight ends. Is that the Eagles working their ass off to not leak out the tight ends because they want to maintain leverage in any sort of Dallas Goedert talks? Potentially. I mean, I could see that. That's completely plausible to me. So, I'm not really sold that they haven't had a tight end in. We don't know it. I can continue to talk about it on Birds 365 because there's been no reports of it. If you listen to the owner and the GM at the owners meeting last week, boy, they clumped Dallas Goedert in with CJ Gardner-Johnson like he was gone. So I don't think he's going to be back, but I do think they're trying to hold as much leverage as they can with it. But Sills, even if they bring Goddard back, what are we doing here? We need a tight end in the room. This is why we can't move on from Goddard now. Now, the other line of thinking I'm starting to see a little bit more is people are starting to talk themselves into that they believe Grant Calcaterra can be just fine. Now, Grant Calcaterra is a good pass catcher, but he struggles in blocking. Now, if you look at the grade, he wasn't quite as bad as people thought he was last year, but he's certainly no Dallas Goedert. I'm not really in on Grant Calcaterra being the top tight end, but there is a line of thinking that exists that he can be that guy. I don't see it, but maybe the Eagles think that, and that's why they're not preparing a contingency plan.
Okay. Do you want me to tell you a little insight about your tight end theory?
There, let's go.
Brian Baldinger was down at Miami Pro Day.
Yep.
3 Eagle scouts were working out the tight end, Elijah Aurora.
Yeah.
So just because they're not bringing players in doesn't mean they're not do their due diligence with their area scouts and guys flying into Bowling Green or guys flying into Michigan or guys flying into places where they're going to be able to work out guys.
This is probably my favorite tight end option because I don't think
Jason
Loveland
Taylor's son at LSU.
Yeah, I don't think Loveland or Warren are an option. And I think you can get Mason Taylor in the 3rd round. So if you can get him in the 3rd round, I'm jumping all over that. I like that player. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely doing their due diligence. That's for sure.
Well, here's a little more about Mason. Mason went to St. Thomas Aquinas. He was a highly recruited kid. Obviously, Jason Taylor's son, a Hall of Fame NFL player. He's a defensive line coach. By the way, I've had conversations about his boy. He's the D-line coach down at the University of Miami. And I asked him about him. He goes, yeah, the Eagles have reached out to him. You know who's representing him? Drew Rosenhaus. So they know and they've worked him out. Just because they're not in the building, Zander, they're out in the team's pro days. They were up at Michigan working the Loveland kid out. So they're doing their work. And I think what they're also doing is, like you said, I mean, look at the contract that the Arizona tight end signed. And, you know, I wrote these down because I heard you and John talking about the best running backs. And I came up with the best quarterbacks in the game, wide receivers, running backs. It was running back. And I put tight ends. Here are my top 10 tight ends in the NFL right now. Brock Bowers is number 1. He is a phenomenal football player. And I can't even tell you who the quarterbacks were last year, and he had 100 catches.
Yeah, I don't even know either. I'm not going to
Now, some of you could say, Sills, aren't they shit yards because of the Raiders? Yeah, probably so. But he's their only option on what they're doing. He had Aiden O'Connell, and he had Gardner Minshew as his quarterbacks a year ago, and he broke both records that stood since 1963. Come on, man. I think that kid McBride from Arizona is the second best tight end in the game. I really like this kid here, Trey McBride.
Yeah, he's good.
I got Kittle 3. I don't like the injuries. I think he's wearing out a little bit. The guy up in Detroit, that Sam Laporte.
Yeah, he's great.
Number 3.
I like the way he plays. He plays big-bodied. He plays like a bully. I like that.
Yep. I've got TJ Hawkinson from Minnesota. I got him there. I got Kelsey at 7. That may be too high, but I got him there at 7. I've got the kid Evan Ingram from Denver. I've got him at 8.
What?
Yeah, he's a pretty good player, man. You see him play last year?
I've never been a fan of his. I'm sorry. I never was a fan of his in New York. I didn't like him in Jacksonville. I'm not a huge fan. So I'd have him a little, like I have Goddard above him for sure.
9, I got David Njoku from Cleveland.
Yeah, Njoku. Yep.
Yep. Miami kid. And number 10, I got Dallas Goedert. Those are my 10 best tight ends. You can probably
That's not bad. I like this guy. I like Freiermuth on there. He's pretty good in Pittsburgh. I like him. There's a couple other guys. The only one I don't like.
I don't hate the guy in Dallas. That kid Ferguson. I don't hate him either.
He doesn't move the needle for me.
No, but he was their number 2 option there. I mean, he could be a better ball player if they get a number 2. But my point is that you're right on Goddard. So if you're going to move off of Goddard, if you move off of Goddard and you go to Calcaterra, bro, I got
a couple. Did you leave Mark? Did you have Mark Andrews on there?
Oh, I'm sorry. I did. I had Mark Andrews at number 5.
Okay. You jumped to 6. All right. So you had Andrews at 5.
Yeah, I got Andrews. I got Andrews at 5.
I like Hawk. I like Laporta. Yeah. I mean, I have McBride a little bit lower than you. I have Kyle Pitts probably around 10, 11, maybe a little lower than that. And then I have Ingram probably right there, 11 or 12, somewhere in that range.
Since you guys hit that running back, I'm going to hit it. Here's my top 10 running backs in the NFL.
All right, let's hear it.
I got Henry 1. I got Barkley 2. I got Bijan 3. I got Gibbs. Boy, you were right on with fucking Gibbs.
I knew that.
I did not think he was that good at Bama.
I knew it. He was one of my favorite fucking players to watch at Alabama. That kid was insane in college, man. He was so good.
He is good.
He runs in the NFL like he did in college. It's one of those rare players that it looks like it did in college. I mean, that's impressive to do. He's a very good player.
I got Jonathan Taylor 5. I've got Josh Jacobs 6. I got Kyron Williams from the Rams 7. I got James Cook from the Bills 8. I got Aaron Jones, Vikings 9. And I'm always going to be an Alvin Kamara guy.
Yeah,
I got
I like
Kamara
Alvin
10 because he could do both, And the only reason that I've got Derrick Henry above Saquon Barkley, he does it every year.
Yeah,
Every
that's fair.
freaking year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to give you my ranking, and my ranking is more on last year. Like I have Saquon 1, but if you want to factor in career, let's be real here. Derrick Henry's, going to the Hall of Fame. He is an insanely good running back. So I have no issue with him putting him at 1. I got Saquon 1. I got Henry 2. I have Jahmyr Gibbs at 3. I just think the versatility of him as a player is remarkable.
Over Bijan, huh?
Over Bijan. I got Bijan 4. And then 5, I think you could probably go Jacobs. I'm not as high on him, but I do like Josh Jacobs a lot. And then I like a couple of the other guys you threw in there as well. Alvin Kamara. Jonathan Taylor. He fell off a little bit. Remember when Jonathan Taylor really lit the league on fire a few years back? I remember when he won the Maxwell Award.
Rookie year he did it.
Yeah, he dominated, man, early. I remember that. He won the Maxwell, and I presented him that award. So I remember that. I met him. He's a pretty cool dude. A couple other good ones. But
Cooks is getting better, too, in Buffalo.
Yeah, James Cook. Yeah, he's great. I like James Cook a lot. I have him pretty high. Kyron Williams is a good one. He's a sleeper as well. Hey, here's a sleeper. How about that kid in Tampa Bay, Bucky Irving?
Yep.
I really
debated on keeping him off because
he was a rookie last year still.
Yeah. He shocked me a little bit.
He had, I think, almost 400 receiving yards. He had like 1,200 rushing yards. Like that kid was pretty damn good for a rookie, dude.
You bet he can play, man. Here's my top 10 receivers.
Oh, I like this. Let's hear it.
I got Justin Jefferson 1. I got Jamar Chase 2. I've got A.J. Brown 3. I've got CeeDee Lamb 4. I got Puka Nacua 5. I've got Amon-Ra St. Brown 6. I got Terry McLaurin 7. I got Mike Evans 8. I got Tyreek Hill 9. And I got Devontae Adams 10. Those are my 10 guys.
That's pretty good. Give me your top 4 again. You have Jefferson,
Chase, Brown, CD. Those are my top 4 guys. And my 5th one is Puka Nacua.
Yeah, Puka is really good. There's one guy you left off I'd probably put in there. I'm a fan of that Amon-Ra St. Brown from Detroit. I didn't know. Did you have him on your list or he didn't make it?
Yeah, I got him 6th.
Okay, you got him 6th. All right, so I didn't hear that. I'd go Chase 1. Okay, I prefer Chase over Jefferson. Just a preference thing. Not saying Jefferson's not a great player. I just prefer a little bit of a, I like Jamar's style a little bit more physical of a player. Kind of reminds me of A.J. Brown, almost a little bit more polished A.J. Brown. I'd put Jefferson 2. I'd put Brown 3. I would put, 4. CD. I think CD's right at 4. I think you're right about that with CeeDee Lamb. Then I'd probably go 5, Amon-Ra St. Brown. 6, I'd probably go Puka Nacua. 7.
I got McLaurin there.
Yeah, I like that. How about Mike Evans?
I got Evans at 8, but okay. I think
Mike
these
there.
guys are all preference, like you say.
Give me Tyreek Hill at 8. Give me McLaurin at 9. Give me Smitty at 10.
Wow. Okay. Over Devontae Adams, you think he's a better player?
I think at this point of his career, I do. Not a knock on Devontae because I was a big Devontae Adams fan. But I think at this point in his career, Devontae's.
I think what's happened to Devontae Adams, he chased the money bag instead of chasing his legacy.
Yeah, I think he kind of.
The places that he's gone have all been horrible quarterbacks.
Yeah. When he signed that deal in Vegas a couple years ago, let's be real, that was stupid. That was stupid.
We'll get to all your supers, guys. Do me a favor, please hit the like button. I did my quarterbacks.
All right, let's do it.
I got Allen 1. I got Mahomes 2. I got Burrow 3. I got Lamar 4. I got Hurts 5. I got Jaden Daniels 6. got Stafford 7. I got Justin Herbert 8. I got Mayfield 9. And I got Jared Goff 10.
Your top 5, no problem with that. I'd put Hurts a little higher because obviously I'm an Eagles guy. I think his success, but I understand people who are going off talent. And I have no issue with Hurts at 5 at all. I think that's fair. I mean, you look at the top 4 guys. Let's be real. Lamar Jackson's a generational talent. I mean, you've never seen anything like this guy in the NFL. Joe Burrow is one of the best throwers of the football in the modern game. I mean, that we've seen maybe since Aaron Rodgers. I know Aaron Rodgers is still playing, but Joe has that level of throwing ability. Josh Allen's obviously a unicorn, and Mahomes' resume speaks for itself. So I'd probably go Mahomes 1, Allen 2, Hurts 3, Burrow 4, simply because of the success of Eagles. Now, I do think if Burrow was in a different situation, he'd have a lot more success. 5, I got Lamar. 6, I'd probably go.
I got Daniels there.
Yeah. Do I go Jared Goff over Daniels? Do I go Matthew Stafford over Daniels? He's probably fallen off a little bit. I still have Stafford as a top 10 guy.
Oh, yes.
Huh?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Stafford's still got to be top 10. I think Daniels at 6 is okay. Give me Jared Goff at 7. No, give me Stafford at 7. Give me Goff at 8. Give me round out your top. Give me
6 to 10 is Daniels at 6.
I got Baker somewhere in there.
I got 7 is Stafford. I got 8 Herbert. I got 9 Mayfield. I got 10 Goff.
Okay. So I'd have Baker in there. I'd have Herbert in there. And then one more. Did I put Jaden in at 7?
Yeah. You put Jaden.
Jaden at 7, Herbert at 8, Mayfield at 9, and 10, I'd probably round it out with who am I missing? Am I missing somebody?
No.
I'm doing this off the top of my head, so I apologize if I'm missing them.
Yeah. I know you are. Here's my 10 again. I did Allen 1, Mahomes 2, Burrow 3, Lamar 4, Hurts 5. Hurts will never be out of my top 5. Daniel 6, Stafford 7, Herbert 8, Mayfield 9, and Goff 10.
That's good. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna drop in. All right, Eagles fans are gonna get mad at me on this. I'm debating between 2 guys on 10. I'm debating between C.J. Stroud and Dak Prescott. Here's the problem: Dak's got to stay healthy because he's become an injury merchant where he's missing so many games. But when Dak is in and on his game, he's a talented guy. I don't think people give him enough credit, and especially in Eagle Land. I mean, that guy can throw the damn ball. But I think Stroud's a better, more rounded player.
I think he's a better player too, Stroud.
Yeah, I'll put Stroud at 10. I'll put Dak at 11.
I think he's a better player. Here's why. Everyone, including you, said he took a step back. He still got his team to the playoffs. I mean, and you got to remember what that thing came from. I mean, all the chaos they went through with Sean Watson down there. And that thing, I mean, David Culley ended up losing his job. They hired DeMeco Ryans. The organization was going through ownership from the dad to the son. There was chaos in that building, and he kind of calmed the waters there. You know, in some ways, he went into Houston and calmed the waters the same way Burrow went into Cincinnati and calmed the waters.
You're not wrong about that. And here's the thing about Stroud versus Burrow. Stroud's got a much better support system with that general manager, Nick Caserio, down there in Houston, and that owner spending a lot more money. Joe Burrow's got to get the fuck out of Cincinnati. I mean, let's be real. I'm going to take my Eagles fandom, put it on the shelf. I'm a fan of football. I want to see Joe Burrow in a better place. I'm sorry. This Cincinnati whole and it doesn't look like it's going to happen, by the way. He's probably going to play in Cincinnati forever. But why the hell do we have one of the best quarterbacks in the world playing in Cincinnati when they can't field a good team around him? They just don't. I mean, so I'd like to see him get the heck out of there, but unfortunate.
Let me couple more here for you because this one it bugged me today a little bit. So prior to me preparing my show, by the way, all supers will be read here in a second. Guys, do me a favor, hit the like button. My wife gets a call from USA Today. This guy's name is Josh Peter. He's a reporter. he calls me and he goes, "You're being very critical of Shedeur Sanders. Why?" And I said, "Well, you want my take? Here's my take." He goes, "No, but you've been kind of critical about him since 2023. And he goes, then his next question was, "Have you gotten any backlash for that?" And I went, "What does that have to do with my take on him playing football at Colorado?" And so I'm like, and I told him, I said, "Well, here's a prime example. Your question you're asking me is exactly what's wrong with the evaluation of the kid. If his last name was yours, he's a 3rd-round pick." Okay? Oh,
I don't disagree with that part. I like Shedeur. I'm higher on him than most, but I don't disagree with you.
Okay, but because he's like Bronny James, there's going to be more scrutiny on him, and I understand that. And get this, though. Welcome to the big leagues. This is what this is. Eli Manning and Peyton Manning had to deal with this the same way. Their father was an MVP. That doesn't give you a clear ticket to being a star because your dad's Deion. Deion's going to improve Colorado whether Shedeur's there or not, because that's who Deion is. If somebody tells me you don't think Colorado's going to win 10 or 11 games this year, I think they are. I think they're going to actually be better this year because why? They improved the O-line and D-lines.
Who they got a quarterback this year?
I think they have another transfer kid coming in. And so I told the guy his best bet, and tell me if you agree. Maybe I'm wrong here. I said his best bet is that he plummets in the draft and he goes to Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin grabs his ass, and where he gets a great organization. And he goes, "Well, then you're saying he's not really a bust." I go, "Well, you think Sam Darnold's a bust? You think Baker Mayfield's a bust? These guys are on 4 teams."
Yeah.
You know what a great player is? You know what a transcendent player is? Joe Burrow going into Cincinnati and changing the fortunes of that franchise. Josh Allen going into Buffalo and changing the fortunes of the Buffalo Bills. Guys go in places and change the landscape of a team. Now they're on their 4th team in 3 years. I mean, you quantify what a bust is. I just think that the media, they're playing more into that he's Deion's kid, where that has nothing to do with whether or not the kid's going to make it. That has nothing to do with it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, where every time it's like you used to say this about Jalen Hurts, and to your credit, it's consistency by you. I mean, you used to say, "Why do you keep telling me about his intangibles? I want to hear about what he does on the field." And I think that's a fair way to look at it, by the way. I mean, if you lead with that, then it does tell you what you think of the player. And there is a lot of people leading with the whole Deion thing, but I'm much higher on Shedeur than you. I am. I mean, I don't think he's number 1 overall. I don't think he's a transcendent talent at the position. I don't think he's Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams that was there last year, but I think he's much better than a 3rd-round pick. I think he deserves a lot of credit for what Colorado did. Deion's dope. Deion's not playing the games, all right? And Deion didn't have an offensive line for Shedeur last year, and he did pretty damn good with that Colorado team. So the other thing I like about Shedeur is he's a pro-style offense quarterback. So if he goes to the right place, and this is where I agree with you, I think falling for him would benefit him more, because if I'm Shedeur, yeah, you want to be drafted high to make that extra bucks and obviously, put that on your resume that you were drafted top 5 or top 10 or whatever. But do I really want to play in Cleveland? Do I really want to play in New York? Do I really want to play in for the Raiders? I don't know. I mean, I know people want to be drafted, but if I'm him, I'm like, bro, I go to Mike Tomlin. Are you kidding me? That's stability. That's a great organization. That's a team that's going to value the trenches around me. They already have a good offensive line in Pittsburgh. I mean, you have a period where you can play, you can maybe work them in and kind of let them develop a little bit. I like Pittsburgh a lot for him, but the one thing I will say is I'm a little higher on him than you as a player. I think he's going to be competent.
Can I tell you the best quarterback in the draft is?
Can I guess first?
What?
Can I guess first?
Yeah.
The best quarterback in the draft. Are you saying the most talented thrower, just overall quarterback, best quarterback?
I'm saying I'll fill it in. Who do you think I think is the best quarterback?
I tried to get you there. I could come up.
Yeah, I know you did. Who do you think I'm going to pick as the best quarterback in the draft? Who has the best chance of being successful?
You can't be going Jackson Dart on me, can you? Are you going to go a guy that's not even being talked about in like a Dylan Gabriel?
Can I tell you who?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. What's the one intangible you tell me about your boy Jalen Hurts all the time? He's a what?
A fucking winner, baby.
Okay. So let me draft Will Howard in the 4th round, 3rd round.
I do not dislike this.
Let me draft Will Howard in the 3rd or 4th round. And you know what? Went to a program where you have high. And Joe Burrow couldn't win a job at Ohio State with pressure at that place. You have massive pressure to play. You won a national championship. You've had ups and downs. You were looked at as a fiend after losing to Michigan. You've never, the heat you took, even though you won a national title. What happened? Like Hurts, having his job taken from him, having people think you're not very good. What did he do? He goes in the playoffs and he wins the national championship, and he's a star every game on the field. I don't have to waste a 1st-round pick. I have a 4th-round pick. I have the kind of story that gives me a Brady-esque kind of story. And what's the number one most important thing that you guys bring up to me every day about an intangible? The guy's a winner. Okay? Does he have the strongest arm? No. Is he the fastest guy? No. Is he the best talented guy? No, but I'll tell you one thing he fucking does. He surely wins. How's that not the ID of Jalen Hurts?
That's fair. That's fair. I like Will.
I don't have to waste a top 3 pick on him.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where this quarterback draft is interesting because, while I don't think Will Howard is the player that Sanders is it a more valuable pick? There's potential for that to be true. If you can get Will Howard in the 3rd or the 4th round, that's probably a better value pick than, maybe reaching on a guy like Shedeur or even Cam. I mean, Cam at 1, I like Cam a lot. I don't think Cam's a number 1 overall pick, but
he's like the 12th pick in the draft, something like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let's get how this worked out. So when you look at Brock Purdy being a 7th-round pick, if you go back in the last 2 drafts or 3 drafts, you look at Brock Purdy, was that not an amazing pick by the 49ers that you got a 7th-round draft choice? You paid him $900,000 for 3 years. And look what that pick turned out for you versus the Trey Lance pick where you gave up 3 ones for the guy. What was more of a value pick? The Purdy pick was by far your best pick because, as you said, and I agree with you, and this is a great take by you, those 3 first-rounders are now starting to rear its head in San Francisco, and you now see a little bit of the loss. But that's my point on a guy like Howard. If you're telling me that Shedeur will be a good player, and what if Howard turns out to be a good player? The pick was Howard, not Shedeur, because that means I'm paying him 1st-round money. If those guys are the same guy, the Howard pick's better.
Can you imagine this too? Speaking of the Trey Lance move, imagine if they just stuck with Purdy. Okay, what was he, a 7th rounder? He was the last pick in the draft. Is that right, or something like that? All right.
He was the last pick in the draft.
He was Mr. Relevant or whatever it is. Yeah. So imagine if they stuck with him. You have your 3 first-rounders back that you traded, and you also have the pick that you took him at. Well, I guess you moved up to get him there, but still, I mean, you have 3 other. Imagine what their roster would be now with Fred Warner and Brock Purdy and some of the Nick Bosa. I mean, shit, those 3 first-rounders are crazy, bro. So that's crazy what they did there. And what do you think they're going to do, by the way, with Brock? You're going to pay him?
They're going to pay him. They're going to pay him probably somewhere in the $50 million range, I would say. By the way, I want to do one more thing before you on that. What draft was Jalen Hurts drafted in? 2020 draft.
2nd round pick.
I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here, Zander. NFL draft and why this Will Howard thing makes more sense to me than sitting there and okay, so Joe Burrow went 1. Let's take a look at the draft, the quarterbacks.
That was Burrow, Allen, Herbert.
Tua.
They were all that year, weren't they?
Yeah, watch this. Okay. Burrow's a good pick at 1.
Great pick. Come on.
Would you take Tagovailoa or Hurts?
Hurts.
He was the 5th pick to him.
Yep.
Okay. Let's get another one here.
I think Allen was in that draft.
Would you take Hurts or Jordan Love?
I would take Hurts personally.
I would too.
Yeah.
So get this. Packers at 26 took Jordan Love. Jalen Hurts a 2nd-round pick. Jalen Hurts is a superior pick to Jordan Love. He's a superior pick. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. If you're not enamored by this quarterback class, and I don't really think – I really love it because the position is so valued that you can get 4 guys in this draft.
That's where I think you're right on Will Howard. If you're not enamored, then shit, just wait it out. I mean –
wait it out. Go for the winner.
Right. That's not a bad move by you. You know what? I could see a team doing that. I could see like a Saints doing that.
Did you hear what John Gruden said? He's 2.0 Josh Allen.
Oh, really? Did Gruden do his little QB thing with him?
Yeah. He thinks he's got the intent. He thinks he has the same skill sets, not quite as elite, but he has the same skill sets as Josh Allen.
He's not Allen sized. I mean, maybe John likes the guy, but that's a little bit of an embellishment in my eyes. Will Howard's Josh Allen 2.0. Are you fucking kidding me? I don't see anything about him that's Josh Allen 2.0. Now, I'm not saying he can't be a good player, but you're talking about a rare breed in Josh Allen. He's like 6'6", runs like a freaking horse, throws the ball like a machine. I mean, come on. Will Howard is Josh Allen 2.0 now? I'm not buying that one, Sileo.
He lost five football games. Okay.
I'm not saying he's not a winner. I agree. I'm just saying I think the Josh Allen comp is where I'll draw the line. I don't fucking like that comp.
Yeah, that's what he called. I was like, I think that's a reach, but okay.
Yeah, that's what Gruden said. I'll watch it. I watched what's his name? Yeah,
because he calls
was it Riley Leonard? I watched on there. Did he talk to Riley Leonard? I watched somebody on might have been a clip of Will Howard. I'm not even sure who it was.
By the way, I do like that Dylan that you guys were talking about. I'll tell you why. You know the story, right? You know the Gabriel Dillon story.
No.
You know he started at UCF. He blew his knee out. That's the year they were undefeated.
Oh, is that right?
Blew his knee out, transferred to Oklahoma, and then he went up to Oregon.
Oh.
He's
a Hawaiian dude, right? Dylan Gabriel?
I think so.
I think he's
but I know that guy. I think he was on that 2000 undefeated team for UCF. I know he started his career at UCF. And
he's Hawaiian, that's what I thought.
And he transferred to Oklahoma, and then he went up to Oregon. And he's an older kid, obviously, which is not a bad thing in today's NFL to get. I mean, what are we looking at here? 10. You're looking if you get 10 years out of one of these guys, but he's got a pretty interesting story, dude.
Yeah. Oh, look, and he talked about a winner. He was a winner until that game versus, what was it, Penn State, I think it was versus. I mean, he shit the bed in that game. But before that, he was probably the most consistent quarterback in college football. So the thing I hate about him is he's a lefty. So if you're going to use like a 4th-round pick on a guy, like you're not going to flip your team. You know what I mean? Like people don't understand how much goes into that. If you have a lefty quarterback, dude, everything is different. Like Absolutely. Your right tackle is the equivalent of your left tackle. So it's just not common. If it's one thing if you're going to use the number 5 overall pick like the Dolphins did on Tua. Now, I wouldn't have drafted Tua there, but they did, and it's one thing to switch your offense for a guy you believe in that much. A 4th-round pick, though, that's tough.
That's why Eagle fans, they always have amnesia when Lane was drafted. Who was the starting quarterback in Philly? Do you remember?
When it was Vic.
It was Vic.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was it because Chip Kelly picked Lane.
So get this. Who was his backside tackle?
Right.
Was White. And they got lucky. That guy turned out to be what he was, and they kept him in his natural spot. Instead of flipping him to left tackle, they kept Lane at the right tackle position. Remember, he was the blindside protector for Vic.
Yeah, well, the other thing that's interesting about the Lane pick now is the right tackle is more valuable in Philly than a lot of other places because of the way Hurts plays the game, right? He rolls out to his right a lot. He's a running quarterback. He looks for seams, looks for spots to run the ball. So pretty good pick, obviously, Lane Johnson, Hall of Fame.
Let's get to some of the supers before Philly 500 joins us.
You got 500 coming up. Eric B with $2. No comment. Eric B, if you want to drop a comment, we will read it. Thank you for the $2, brother. Kyle Kokorski, what's up, brother? Love Kyle. He says, Sills and Zander, why do I got this weird feeling that the Patriots draft a wide receiver from Arizona? Not a fan.
Yeah, that Ted McMullen. I think they're gonna if they're smart, they take Travis Hunter up there.
Where they draft? Where do they? They're number.
I think they're third. I think they're third
overall.
I think they'll take Abdul Carter or they'll take Travis Hunter. I'm not passing on. If those guys are in my window, I'm not moving.
What do you see with Abdul? You think he's dominant?
I think he's a little undersized. He was pretty good against the run.
He was
Penn State's recruited a lot of good players, man. They really have recruited a lot of good players, but I want to see him play the run in the pros a little more. I think he's a weak side. I think he's a weak side edge rusher. Zander, I don't think you can line him up if you got a tight end and a tackle on him. And I don't know if, I don't know. Like when I watch him, is he better than Nolan Smith?
Yeah.
They're kind of the same guy.
Nah, he's more dominant than Nolan Smith, dude.
Really?
He's dominant at the line of scrimmage. He gives people
he's probably a little more physical.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's faster, and I think he has better moves. Like that's one of the reasons he's got
a better.
I think Stills. That's one of the reasons he was so dominant, even being a little bit undersized, because not only was he dominant athletically, but he knew how to move around you, and make a move on you. So I do like Abdul Carter, but I agree with you. He's a little bit smaller than I'd want.
That's fair.
All right, last super chat here before Philly 500. Prince Swayze says, is Saquon better than CMC? Both were in the same position where they were able to propel the team's offense, but Saquon had a more dominant effect. I think they're very different players, Prince, honestly. I really do.
Prince, Christian McCaffrey's had a better career than
Christian McCaffrey had 1,000 receiving yards. Like, they're way different players. Way different player. In my opinion. I personally, Prince, I prefer Saquon because I want my running back to be a great running back. I want my wide receivers to be great wide receivers. CMC was more versatile of a player. I prefer Saquon for my style. I would just rather build with a more traditional running back, and that's what Saquon is. By the way, Saquon Barkley is tremendous. Got really good at blocking last year, too. I mean, how many times did you see him make a big block that bailed Jalen Hurts out?
Actually, one thing he did really well in New York and what he's always been a great pass protector. I mean,
and that's what he was here, too. I mean, I saw many times. Even in the Super Bowl, Sills, Jalen made that one big throw in the Super Bowl, and right in front of him, you saw Saquon level somebody. Got to be good at that in Philly.
And people have to understand something about where I say with Barkley. Barkley had one of the greatest years in the history of the National Football League. Derrick Henry's had one of the greatest careers in the history of the National Football League. Derrick Henry does it every year. He's the only player in NFL history with over 1,500 yards rushing. Barkley was, again, he's a product of the Eagles having a great O-line. John's right. It's a great take by John. You put Bijan Robinson, like I wanted, in Philly, he's 2,500 yards every year total offense.
I don't want to go that far. But
wait. The Atlanta Falcons, Michael Penix?
No, I know that, but I mean,
that Atlanta Falcons team's not that good, dude.
2,500 yards has been done once in the NFL history. So.
No, I'm talking, bro, what did he have? 1,500 yards in rushing last year? And what did he have? 400 yards receiving?
There's no doubt Bijan's a tremendous player. There's no doubt about that.
You're telling me you don't get 200 extra yards? That he 200 extra yards in
last year he had 1,456 rushing and receiving. He had 431. He had 487.
So you're telling me being on Philly's not worth an extra 600 yards?
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, he had 1,456. He had 1,800 total yards last year. He had 1,900 total yards last year.
So you're 600 more yards playing with the Eagles.
All right. I'll buy it. I'm just saying.
How many catches did he have, too?
Catches last year, he had 61 catches.
So he almost had as many catches as AJ.
Well, AJ missed some games, but yeah, I mean, we weren't a humongous throwing team last year, but I got you. I
Dude,
see
that kid's good.
No, he's good. There's no doubt. I'm just not ready to say he's better than Saquon. Sorry. Eric B again with $2. Eric, are you trying to give me let me see if Eric put a comment because he keeps dropping supers with no comments. Eric, I appreciate the $2, brother. Steve says just cuz. Thank you, Steve. And Drake's new album sucks. Say with a super sticker. Appreciate you, Drake. Hating on the Drake's new album. All right, that's fine. All right, everybody. I appreciate you. Stills, thank you, brother.
You bet, brother. I appreciate it. Before we get out of here, bold prediction: Barkley rushes for 300 yards and breaks Adrian Peterson's record. That instead of him going for 2K this coming season, that I could see happening. Him breaking Adrian Peterson's record of 300 yards rushing. That would be more in line with what I would think. I showed you guys what guys do after gaining 2K. 1,300 yards. I think Barry Sanders had the most, was like 1,349. The rest of the guys were around 1,100 yards. Again, that's a lot of carries that he had a year ago. So let's, without further ado, bring in my friend. Make sure you check him out, too, during the draft.